Good evening, everyone. So, in today's session, we are going to discuss how to build a stopwatch with Python. As you have seen, in the previous things we have built some different applications where we have worked on real-time problems with machine learning, and we have also done web scraping. So today you are going to do something different where you learn this how Python is related to every field and why Python has gone its much importance, because even a people from a tech background or non-tech background can dig into his career into Python. So let's make this time so that we can learn a simple application how to build a stopwatch with Python. So let's get into it. So for that purpose, what we need to do is we need to have some basic thing how our system is able to retrieve the time, because with the help of BIOS, right? While installing operating system, we may check out the time zone, as Indian time zone is 5.5 hours ahead of Greenwich Mean Time Zone. So in the same way, in Python program, we are having some built-in module where we can retrieve the present date and present time. So we are going to look into that thing, because stopwatch where we calculate, we press the button and it starts the time, right? When we stop it, we can see the particular amount of time, right? So for that purpose, we need to understand how Python can be used to retrieve the present date and time, and how what are the libraries present to retrieve it, which why Python has got much more importance in some simple applications like game development, and how web applications are related. In the previous session we have seen how that is related to web application, web scraping. In today's session we are going to build a stopwatch with simple time library, where we'll build a stopwatch and it will run in our console itself, in our IPython console. And in another application we'll build a GUI so that you can see a web interface. So that's how you'll be having some very much interactive thing at the end. So let's start into it. So for the first thing, we need to understand how we can import this library. So we'll start with the time library. You need not install it. Either you can use Spider or you can use Colab or anything. That's up to you. Even in Python idle, you can work it out. No issues with that thing. You just ignore about the warnings because we are yet to write our program. So you can go for your Python idle or Jupyter or Spider, whatever Python IDs you can go. You can use Colab also, which we have done in the previous session. So import time. Then first, let me show one thing. I take a variable a is equal to time dot time. I'm calling a time function. My first concern is to make sure how it is able to calculate the time. A equal to time dot time. I'll call up the time function, and when you press enter and when you print that variable, you just save it with some name, some dummy name. I'll save it with some location, and when you execute it, you can see the output, which includes 1 2 3 units, 10 100 1000 100 crores, nearly 150 crores of seconds. That means it is very simple thing. It has started calculating time from 1970 January 1st to 2020 April 4th, 7 o'clock. See, that is 30 years and this is 20 years. So 50 years, and every year consists of 365 days. So 365 days into 24 hours into 60 minutes into 60 seconds. 50 into 365 into 24 into 60 into 60. For a rough calculation, you can get it out. See, that is the thing. Why it is calculating only from starting 1970? Because you can see if you dig out to the history of the Windows operating system or Mac operating system, which came into existence from 1980s itself. But before that, IBM used to have the Unix based operating system. So that is the reason this operating system, whenever I import time library, it will take the time from 1970 January 1st to 2020 April 4th, the present date. Yes, you can calculate it roughly. That is 30 years, that 20 years, and 50 years, so that you can get to a rough assumption. Yes, so when you print A, you can see the output, and if you run again, just no need to save it. If you execute it again, you can see the change in the time. See, the first time is, let's see the last three digits, 944, and the time has changed, right? 055. The number of seconds is going to change for every iteration. This is how, with the help of time function, we can calculate the present time. Yes, so this is how we initialize our time library, and we'll print how much time is calculated till now. So we'll make use of this, and we are having some simple libraries where we'll get present date and present time. So let's go for it. Yes. So I'll take this as example, and I write b is equal to, I'll call my time library itself, or time module. You can see the suggestion over there, time dot local time. See, you can get the suggestion, local time, seconds, tm underscore year, tm underscore month, tm underscore m day, hour, minute, second, day of the week, year of the day, distribution, and you can see all the things. Yes, so when you press it, you can print B. So it will print the present date. I'll save it and I'll execute it. See, it has printed in the format of a structure, year, month, day, hour, the time is 7 o'clock, and minute, second, day of the week, day of the year, and distribution. Distribution stands for 0. So this is 96th day in 365 days we have in year, right? So 366 days, this is a leap year. So we are on the 96th day, and W day stands for week of the day. It starts at Monday. Monday starts at 0 because we are having 7 days in a week. So starts at Monday, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is the last day of the week, and the year and month and M day. Distribution is 0, that is negligible, which is always 0. Hour, minute, second. So with the help of local time, you can see you have retrieved the present date and time in a structure format. If you want to get it individually, you can just import time. You can check out in the IPython console where I'm doing. You just call the time function, time dot time. Yes, so b is equal to, then I make use of time dot local time of, you take the above input variable because it just calculated the present time. Then you give out b, you get the structure. With that, you can assign something to a variables. You can go for some c is equal to b dot tm underscore year. When you print C, you get the present year. In the same way, you can retrieve every structure. So this is how, which is the first method in time library where you can retrieve the present time. I hope this is clear. So the next one, we are having another method. So you can retrieve tm underscore year, tm underscore a month, tm underscore day of the month. We treat it as day. We write day, month, and year. US people, you do write year, month, and month, day, and year. That is interchange because we write date at the front, they write date in the middle. So M day stands for day of the month. It is treated as, so time library will treat it as day of the month. Then hour, minutes, seconds. If you run it again, you can change the difference in time. So I'll make sure I'll comment this thing because we'll use another library called as ctime, which includes current time. So I'll rename C is equal to time dot C time of A, because you need to take A because it calculates the time till now. So when you print C, you can see the output in string format, which includes the present day. See, this is in string format. Day, month, day of the month, time, hour, minute, seconds, and it is printed in year format. Yes, so local time will retrieve the time in structure format. C time will retrieve the time in string format. So in time library, we are having local time and C time. So this is the starting for retrieving the time from Python libraries. By the help of Python libraries, we are able to retrieve the present date time, present time. So it's very simple. So I hope this is clear. Then we'll use DateTime library to retrieve, which includes the class of date and time. So time class will only include, which has the attributes of hour, minute, second, microsecond, and time zone. Now in DateTime, we are having this module consists of four important classes, which includes DateTime, date, time, and time delta. Let's go for it. I'll open new file. Yes. So then I'll import date time because I don't know what are the libraries present. I'll directly go for from date time import star. So star means you'll retrieve every functionality present in the library. Then I'll take a variable a is equal to, I call up my time library date time dot. So in time we are having local time and C time. So in date time we are having this object. So you can see now method date time dot now. Then let's print it, print of A. So let's save it. I'll save it with some name. I'll use second program. So you don't worry about the warnings. You can see you use just datetime dot now method where you'll save. See, you have got the structure in year, month, day, hour, minute, seconds. So datetime libraries includes the date and time attributes, whereas time you are having local time and C time. C time stands for the current time where you got in string format, whereas if you go for now method, you're having it in the format of year, month, day. Whereas we write in day, month, year. We call it as date. Its system reads in the format of day of the month, and year. But here, whenever you use datetime library, it prints in the format of year, month, and day. Then the time is similar, hour, minute, seconds, and the microseconds. So this is the first library in datetime. Pretty simple. We go for the another method where we'll again retrieve the same thing with the help of today. But we're having some difference. Let's see the difference first. Datetime dot today. If I print it, you can observe the same format, but you can see the change in time. Today method not only has datetime library, so datetime library, it can also retrieve only present date. But whereas now you get the structure in the format of now, in the format of day, month, year, hour, minute, second. For example, if I import from date time import star, where you can see in the right side console, what I do A is equal to date time dot now. You can go for A dot, just where I print A, you have the date time structure. I go for A dot day, A dot year, A dot month. then you can make this to some variables and you can print your date in the present date format, wherever, however we write suppose 4/4/2020, we write hyphen in between. For retrieving time you gave 07:20. You're doing that way, right? So if you're using now method, you can go for dot now dot day, now dot month, now dot hour. You can call it directly, or whatever the variable you give in now method, you can retrieve it with that thing. So what I'll do is I'll show you the difference between today method and now method. So if I print way, you can also retrieve date along with it. Whereas in date time, you are not having flexibility to call out date separately, but you can call individually dot year, dot day, dot month, dot hour, dot minute, dot second. Those are the attributes present within now method. But for today method, you can call specific date or complete date time. That is the only difference between today method and now method. So these are the two libraries in date time, whereas in time library we are having C time and local time. Yes. So now we can come to a conclusion that we can use time and date time libraries to build our simple application stopwatch, because it completely deals with time, right? Whenever generally if you see a stopwatch, you calculate the time. For if you go for running or you do your exercise, you do your daily activities, we keep up our daily timing, right? So that's how the time is important. So for that reason, I made it clear how this time and date time libraries will be used. With the help of this, let's build our first stopwatch in our console. So for that, I'll use my time library. Let's import time. Should you get a suggestion, time or timer? I'll take my time library. I define a function called as time underscore convert, because with this I'll be building a stopwatch where your output will be printed on the console. So in the next stopwatch we'll build a stopwatch with a GUI based, where we'll be using a package called as tkinter. So with that we can build some web interfaces. That is, tkinter is the graphical user interface application for Python libraries. It's a package where you can build some web applications which can be used for building some simple sign up forms. Where that's how Python is related to web applications. That may be present in JavaScript or Java or PHP, but tkinter is something like where you can build some sign up forms, where you can build some user interface applications to your Python programs or Python, whatever you build a software with Python, using Python. So I take my parameter as seconds. I define minutes is equal to seconds. I use flooring division because 1 minute is equal to 60 seconds. And I define this second percentile 60. Why? Because this is for scheduling. I define this percentile indicates you are running again and again, because it should update, right? Whenever this stopwatch will have hours, minutes, seconds. If it is 001, it should go to 002, 003, 004. It should update every time. So that is the reason I gave second percentile 60. Next, I define my variable with hours. So hours is equal to 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes. In the same way, minutes should be converted into integer format. So minutes percentile 60. So the same way we have done flooring division and the modulus, where modulus will always return you an integer, because you can see the simple example. 5 double slash 2 is different, 5 slash 2 is different, because 5 slash 2 is called as floating division, 5 double slash 2 is called as flooring division, which will always returns an integer, and that I can tell in layman terms as which returns quotient. So if I go for 5 percentile 2, which returns the remainder, because 2 to the 4, remainder is 1. 2 to the 4, quotient is 2. So I need to get my integer output. So I use my second is equal to second percentile 60, minutes is equal to minutes percentile 60. Because in order to reschedule every time, because I'll be getting my output in this format 0 is to 0 is to 1, and the next thing will be 0 is to 0 is to 2, and the next second will be 0 is to 0 is to 3. Until and unless you stop, you click, you close the console. I mean, you click Control C. That's what we are going to do in the program. Yes, I hope this is clear. Minutes percentile 60. 1 minute is equal to 60 seconds. We have stored minutes, and second is converted in for rescheduling every time. Then hours, 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes, and minutes is also rescheduling. So that is the reason I have used only for second and minutes percentile. For hours, I need not use it. So print, I'll use my print statement here. Hope you will be aware of the format method. I use time lapsed is equal to, I define 0 is to 1 is to 2. This is the general format method where we use in print types. We are having 3 types. Mainly we use 3 types of print statements: string and variable, formatted string with percentile variables list, and we use dot format method. Because in dot format method we will be using curly braces to restore the values of the variables. So what are my variables over there? I can go for dot format of, sorry, it's format dot format of int of hours, comma, int of minutes, comma, dot format of int of hours, because that's a format method, right? So I give int of hours, comma, int of minutes, comma, then the next thing is seconds. You may also give int of second, that's up to you. No issues with that. Let's give int of second. I think the brace is not closed because you're getting some warning symbol over there. Yep. Now it's closed. This is the third type of print statement. You can use any other print statement because at the output I get time lapsed is equal to 001, 002. This will be updated because hours is your variable, minutes is your variable, second is your variable. You can go for it. And I define my input statement to control it. Because if I press enter, my program should start. Because I don't have any screen, right? I don't have any screen touch over here. Because in mobile phones, you have the screen touch, and when you press the button, the timer will start. And when you stop, it will stop. Yes? So, but I don't have that much flexibility here. So this is programming. I give up some statement called as enter to start. So when I press enter, it will start calculating the time. And I need to close it with the help of some keyboard interruption. That's where my exception handling comes into picture. Now, this is the thing, this is the function we have given only to calculate the time. We have just made a head of it. Now we start the logic. I gave some variable start time is equal to time dot time, because in the first program we have given to calculate the time. If you remember, in the first program we will use the same logic here to store the time, because it should calculate, right? 001, it should go to 002, 003, and then it should entirely give me how much seconds are elapsed. Hours, minutes, seconds, along with the help of the milliseconds you can see in the output. Now I start my exception handlings. So my exception handlings are used for, generally, if you remember, if you know these exception handlings, try will always check the program, whatever you write, and except will handle the errors. So that is the reason these are called as exception handling statements in Python programming. Whereas conditional statements include if, if else. So control statements will include for while. If you know the sequence, you go for the for loop. If you don't know the sequence, you'll depend on test condition. You go for while loop, right? In the same way, we have exception handling. So in exception handling, what I'll do, I'll give out press Control C to stop, or you need not give this thing, because in exception handling, you directly go for defining if hours is equal to 0. I'll write a condition while true. If it is true, then go for the logic. You write your for loop. See, loop within the loop. For minutes in, you use your range function, which gives you suggestion starting, ending, or starting, ending with interval. So what I define, 1 minute is equal to 60 seconds, right? 0 is to 60. It starts at 0 and ends at 59. So because after 59th minute, we go for hour completion, right? So it again starts at 0. So for seconds in, you take out the same thing, range of 0, 60. You go with the same thing. For minutes, you gave 0, 60. For seconds, you gave 0, 60. So that is fine. Then you give for time delay, you take up some time delay, very minimum time duration. The time delay is given with time dot sleep. So you're writing this try block only to calculate the time, because you gave the time lapse print statement in the beginning. It should carry out. If you're having any issues, it should close the time. So there we'll be using our exception statement. Then I print how much hours for every, how much time it is printing for every second. Our timer starts, right? Every second our timer iterates and it prints new time. So that is the reason I'm giving this print statement. Hours, minutes, and seconds. I give seconds plus 1 because for you have your output in the format of 0 is to 0 is to 1, 0 is to 0 is to 2, because timer, it adds every minute, every second, right? If the present second is 1, the next second is 1 plus 1, the next second is 2 plus 1, 3 plus 1, 4 plus 1, 5 plus 1. So for that logic, you gave seconds plus 1. So hours, which is defined in the above function, that calculated minutes and seconds. Because you gave your for loop for minutes in range of 0 to 60. It starts at 0 and ends at 59. In seconds, it starts at 0 and ends at 59. So you have the output hours, minutes, and seconds. Seconds plus 1 is for every iteration, it calculates, it upgrades the second. So this is your try block. So try block is for checking out every execution. Then you give out except. You don't get any error because you are giving the exception. So you give keyboard interrupt. Keyboard interrupt is for giving out exceptions or handling the errors. So in keyboard interrupt, in exception, I gave start time is equal to time dot time. So in end time, I give out, so it should calculate till here. So start time is equal to time dot time. You gave up your try block, and in end time, in exception, you gave end time is equal to time dot time. Then it should calculate what is the time lapsed. Because from starting to ending, it should give out the entire time, right? So because in stopwatch, when you click on start button and when it moves on, when you click on stop button, you can see the time duration from where it has started. So for that purpose, we are giving time lapsed is equal to end time minus start time. Yes, so then you call out your function. What is your function name? Time underscore convert. You replace the parameter second with time lapse because it is where your time has been stored. This is your final output. You can see because here the value is replaced with the time calculated and the output is printed in the format of time lapsed is equal to in format method dot format of int of hours, comma, int of minutes, comma, int of second. So let's execute it. I'll save it with some name called as stopwatch in some location. Yep. So let's check it out. You'll get the output. It is asking press enter to start, because in our mobile phones you can see the output as you have screen touch. You can press we press the start button, but here I have my enter button. So you can see the output 001, 002, 003, 004. It is calculating, and when you press keyboard interrupt, you go on a press Control C. You can see the time lapse is equal to hours, minutes, seconds. This is how you can see. So let me change this seconds, int of seconds to seconds. Let's see, do we have any change in the output? I execute and I press enter. 001, 002, 003. You have your stopwatch over there. You can go for Control C, right? You can see the difference over there. You can see time lapse in seconds. Time lapse is also including seconds with whatever the least millisecond, nanoseconds you can see, because 1 second is equal to 1000 milliseconds. 10 power minus 6 microseconds, which is very least. We see 1 second is very much flash for us. Milliseconds is very, very negligible. If you take out integer out of there, you don't get this milliseconds. Well, not milliseconds exactly, the float format of the seconds, which includes very minute amount how system is able to read. Yes. So with that, we have built our stopwatch where you can see your output in the console. So I'll explain it once again. If you're having any queries, you can see. So I define my library, import time, then I use simple logic. I'll go for my, I'll think how my stopwatch is present in my mobile. I'll see, I need to click the start button. You have 0 is to 0 is to 0 or 0 is to 0 0. You can see the stopwatch in your mobiles. But if you click the start button, it will start moving. It will calculate the time. When you click on stop, you can see how much time we have calculated till now, because we only see the seconds, and 1 second is 1 minute is equal to 60 seconds for us, which is something like we don't see that kind of we don't grasp that thing. But the stopwatch, it can also take out very, very millisecond. That's the reason we use in the events or any time related applications. So first I use minutes is equal to second. 1 minute is equal to 60 seconds. You use second is equal to second percentile 60 to reschedule the time every time. Hours is equal to minutes. 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes. Then you go for minutes also rescheduling. You use a print statement. This print statement is your final output. Time lapse is equal to, we gave dot format of int hours is replaced in first block 0, int minutes is replaced in second block, second is replaced in third block. Then I ask user with the input of input function, input of press enter to start. I did not give it to any variable. I don't want to give any variable because input is a built-in function. The reason I gave press enter to start is simple logic, because in my mobile phone I keep on telling this thing. In my mobile phone we have the start button and stop button, but here I don't have anything, right? So what do? I need to use some keyboard interruption where my system should respond whenever the stopwatch should start and whenever the stopwatch should close. So I gave, so press enter to start. You can give any other thing which is very simple to understand. So I gave press enter to start. Then I used my time logic with the help of time library, time.time. So it starts calculating the time. So I need to go for try and exception only because I want to avoid any errors. So I starts with hours is equal to 0 because that is the standard. Whenever you open your stopwatch, that will be with zeros, right? So with the same logic, I'll do it. I'll use my while loop because until and unless this condition is true, this loop goes on iterating. That is the reason minutes, seconds in range, Sleep is for time delay, because when you run the program, you can see for every iteration your screen is blinking something like it goes to the next, 003, 004, 005. So this is your output. Hours, you can see 0 colon minutes colon seconds plus 1, because 1 plus 1 is 2, 2 plus 1, you can see the output over there. I give keyboard interruption only to check what is the time lapse. So with the help of end time. So time lapse is starting ending minus starting difference. So 0.22 seconds approximately my stopwatch has run. So I call my function with the start time and end time difference. So if I don't know the time library, I cannot build a simple stopwatch where I can see the stopwatch in my console. Yes. So this is how we have built our stopwatch so that it runs in our console. What if I want to build a user interface? Now that's what we are going to see. So I'll open a new file for that, and I use a built-in library. You need not install it, that is already built in. You go for tkinter. So with the help of tkinter, we can develop some dialog boxes. We can give the effects for submit button, start button, but we need not give any styling, because styling comes under front end. These effects, JavaScript effects, we can provide some effects with the help of tkinter, where we call root up, where we call some application and we give out those sizes which we are going to see. We can see the fonts, we can give out everything. You can go to official tkinter documentation, where you can find out how to build some dialog boxes, how to build scrolling buttons, how to give up starting, stopping, and ending. So you need not install it. Import tkinter as tk. Then for fonts, you give out import tkinter dot font, font as capital T. This is case sensitive, capital F. For importing font, you can go for import tkinter dot font as tk font, capital T, capital F. Then in the previous program, I have used my time library, right? So in this, I'll use DateTime library. From DateTime, the space is mandatory because it will check it out. See, from DateTime, I import DateTime. I use only my DateTime library in this case, because my output will be in the format of same seconds and milliseconds. In the previous case, we have seen the output in the format of hours, minutes, seconds, and that seconds, which includes very minute seconds that can be micro and more than very less than the other thing. So in this, we'll be building a dialog box where you'll be getting another spider icon enabled here. If you open that, you'll be having a dialog box. So to build that thing, we'll use tkinter, and obviously for time, I need to use my time library or DateTime library. Now I'll define everything in the format of functions. So for that purpose, I define three functions. I define run function, start function, stop function, and I define reset. Because simple, start, stop, and reset. That's what you have in your stopwatch, or in our mobile phones, we see that in the format of symbols, because video symbol will be in the format of greater than symbol, where you click on that, the place, and when you want to pass, you click on that. You can see the symbol over here. This is the symbol we have in our mobile phones where we use, but that is in user interface point of view. This is programming, right? So you build some, you need to write everything in the format of code. So let's start. Let's go for it. I hope it's clear, because we are using simple Python libraries. If you are not having any background also, you can see it is as simple as English. I define my run function where I use my now method, because with the help of time library, I used time.time to calculate present time till now. But for here, I'm using, say, I need not use this year, month, day. You can see, which I have told you previously, date time. Now I use my now method. If you remember, in the second program we have used now library to get the DateTime structure. So with the same thing I'm naming the variables which is suitable to general application so that you can understand easily. Current time is equal to DateTime dot now. So I need to have difference, right? Difference is equal to, I give current time minus start time. That's how I define, because I need to have the time difference, right? When I click start, stop. When I click start, it moves on, right? When I click stop, I should see the time duration between that. So current time minus start time. I define a variable for setting it where I should get the output in that format. You need not give what in the same way which I give. You can go for another variables also. Text variables dot I need to set. As we have the formats in every programming language, it takes integers. So this is how I want seconds and milliseconds. So I want 2 digits. So I give percentile 0 to D, small d, not capital D. And then we define percentile of difference of DIFF dot seconds, comma, DIFF dot microseconds. To convert that into milliseconds, we divide it by 10,000. And I need only the floating division, not floating division. That's the reason I gave double slash. So DIFF is difference between current time minus start time. So DIFF dot seconds will be replaced in the first percentile D, and DIFF dot microseconds will be replaced in the second percentile 2D, because it converts it into milliseconds. Seconds, milliseconds. 1 second is equal to 1000 milliseconds. So where you get the output over there. Percentile 2D is for 4 digits here. So that is the reason I gave 4 digits, converting from microseconds to milliseconds. Yes, so this is how I define the run function. Then I use simple condition statements and I define this variable as global, because it should update for every, because our timer updates, right, for every second. We may not that much pay attention to it, but for programming I need to mention it very clear. This I gave running as my condition, because for every expression after condition statement, if, else or else, you write some test expression. Here my test expression is running. I define root dot after of 20 comma run, because I see you have this run already. Run is a function. This I gave to reschedule after 20 milliseconds or refresh display, because when you'll be developing a dialog box, you'll be having the timer printing. So to reschedule it, I'm using this statement to reschedule. I can write the comments over there, you can see. To reschedule after 20 milliseconds. So it depends whether you give very less number or very higher number. It depends on your interest. You can play with those numbers afterwards. So that is, I define a method for, I'll define individual methods: start, stop, run, and reset. Run is for giving out time lapse. If you want to say time lapse, you give the run method. Now I define my start method or layer functionality, because I'm using define keyword. I make that condition as global of running. So global, just a sec. Global, that's a keyword. Whenever you make a variable as global variable, that is applicable in the entire function. Same, I define my global variable start time. You are defining within the start function. That means it is applicable to the entire thing. I write the other condition if not running. What happens if it is not running? Then running is equal to, if it is running or not, you give it as a boolean value true. Now you define again start time is equal to date time dot now, because in run method you gave your time lapse where you calculate the difference between, because time lapse is nothing but the time difference between the starting time, current time, and the starting time. But in starting it should take till present, right? I can say now the time is around 7:50 or whatever according to your present time. Now method we have seen in the second program, now method will retrieve the present date in the format of structures, right? Now dot day, now dot month, now dot year. So I will use the same concept. That's the reason I gave date time dot now, so that it should start. Then again I give how to reschedule. I define root dot after of, you can play with these numbers, you define the methods. So this is for start functionality. Just a minute. Is this undefined name root? Yeah, I'll save it with some other name. Stopwatch GUI. That's my name. Undefined name txt. Let's see, we are getting these warnings. We are getting the warnings. Let's cross check them first. txt underscore variable dot set, and you're getting some warning here, undefined name root. Let me cross check it first, then we'll proceed, because when you run you'll get the errors. I define my run method and I gave current time is equal to date time dot now. Then I'll calculate the time difference, current time minus start time. Then I'll set the variable to percentile D and percentile 2D for milliseconds. I give out my variable list over there, which includes seconds and microseconds, because we'll be setting out this thing when we use tkinter package, right? So that is the reason. Just don't worry about that thing first. We'll go for stop method and we'll see once we, because in Spider in this update you can see it will give the warnings and it will give you the errors until and unless they are used. So we have defined stop method, start method, and run method. Now I define stop method, because you need to click stop button, right? So that's how. Yep. So just don't worry about the warnings over there. Let's go for it. In stop method, you make your variable as global again, because you're defining different function. You define it individually, global running. And if running is equal to, we gave running is equal to true in start method, you need to give running is equal to false in stop, because simply when you click start it should start, when you click stop it should stop. So that is the reason I'm giving running is equal to false. Run method, run functionality is for time lapse. Start is for, it should calculate the time from the starting. That is the reason I gave date time dot now. In stop method, I did not give any date time dot now, because when I click the stop, it will stop there. So that is the reason I need not mention again date time. Now I'll use my, because I need to have reset button also. For that, I'm writing functionality. For displaying of the buttons, you'll use your tkinter package. Then I make my start time variable as global. Again in reset also you give start time, because start time is equal to date time dot now, because in start functionality you gave date time dot now, it should calculate the time till now. And in reset method or reset functionality, again you are giving date time dot now, because simple logic, when you see your stopwatch, when you click the start button, the time is calculating, and when you go for stop button, it will display the time present till there, but when you reset it will go back to 0 is to 0, right? So for that purpose I gave date time dot now. Then I'll use my condition again. You just mind with the indentations. if not running. If it is running, I gave not running, then I made my condition running is equal to true. If not running, then I set my text variable txt underscore variable dot set. It should print in this format. That should be in string format 0.00. I want to show you the difference because in the previous program we have made our stopwatch in the format of hours, minutes, and seconds. Now in this we are giving in the format of seconds and milliseconds. So for that thing I gave 0.0 is to 0. So 4 functions for start button, stop button, reset button, and time lapse. Now let's build the interface for it. Then finally you make the variables running is equal to false, and you assign start time is equal to none, because it will not store any values present, right? So when I give datetime dot none, now it calculates the time present till now. So 4 functionalities for run is for taking the time lapse, start is for calculating the time, stop is for functionality of stop, reset is for going back to 0. Now I define my now I define a variable called as root is equal to tk dot tk. Now you can see the warnings has erased because I'll call my tkinter library here, because I imported tkinter as tk. I'll call the functionality tk.tk for calling all the functionalities. You name it to something root or anything, but make sure whatever you display in the above lines you make it root dot after, that is for rescheduling or displaying. Then this is for just calling out the library, for calling out the classes within the library. Then I define the geometry. So your geometry includes general length, breadth, and width or height. If you go for the square, it includes length and square, one single side, right? So rectangle, all 2 sides are different. So length and breadth, you go over there. So this is for giving out my breadth, width, and height for my dialog box. You just go for it, width and height. You can see the comment over YouTube. Let's make first 500 into 100, because for every dialog box we have different sizes and shapes. So 500 includes your width and 200 includes your height. That is my geometry. I am defining title. Title of, what is my title? I give out my title as stopwatch. That you can go for anything. It depends on your interest. So I have defined my tkinter library and I have given my geometry for the dialog box, because when you run your program, you can see the dialog box will be appearing. For that I gave the title. Then I set my variables, because I need to have the start button and I need to build a box for it, and stop button I need to build a box for it, reset button I need to build a box. I need to have start, stop, and reset text over there. For that I'm defining this string variables, which is present default. You can see over there dialog box string variables. Then what is the format I want over there? txt underscore var dot set of, I want in this format 0.00. This is the format I want, because in the previous thing we have seen hours, minutes, and seconds. Now I want in the format of seconds and milliseconds. So for that reason, I have defined dot set method of 0.00. So we have defined the dialog box width and height, then we have defined the title, and we are defining the strings. So I gave string variable only to make sure I initialize the string variable to ensure what are the font and what are the buttons I should get over there. So I'll write my variable font style. You go for anything, font style is equal to tk font. That is the reason I gave import In the starting, in the second line I gave import tkinter.font. I need not write every time tkinter.font, tkinter.font. So I renamed it as tk font. Whenever we use aliasing, you can use your own methods, own names. You need not follow the same thing. To understand, simply I gave tk.tkfont.font. What is the family I define? Family is equal to. So you can have different libraries. The different libraries which includes the fonts are, we can check it out. I'll write it in the console. You can check the different fonts out, because in Word document we have the fonts such as Times New Roman, Calibri, and all the things. Now we'll just see the different fonts available. From tkinter, I import font, comma, tk, so that you can import all the things. So you call the class tk of, you just press enter. Now you define fonts is equal to, you want it in the format of list of font dot, you want to see all the families. So the output is you get list of all the fonts. So you can see the output, right? So you see all the list of fonts. You can use it anything from here. So in general, in our Word documentation, we use Calibri or Times New Roman. We make it as bold. So from this, I have initialized. I have imported font library from tkinter. I have initialized the class. I need to initialize the class because I need to get the list of fonts, right? So I use something from here. What is the thing I want to use? L, Lucida Bright and everything. I'll use Lucida Grande from it, which is my favorite one, which I'm going to use. We generally use for our applications. Simple login forms. We use this thing, and I define my size equal to 50 because I should see the timer with some pretty good size. So that is my font style. Then I define my labels, because labels are very important, right? If for graph we define the labels. I call my root because the root is calling the library. Then I set my text variable. Text variable is equal to txt underscore variable, because what you have defined in txt underscore variable, you call the string variable, and then you give out font is equal to font style. Whatever you give out over there, okay, I gave it as capital letter. Then you're asking it to pack. The pack method is for fitting out the separate things, because whatever the font you have chosen, that should be applicable over there. That is the reason I give this pack method for labels and what are the buttons, because you can see in your spider you have the debug option, run option. You are giving the functional trait. When you click it, you can see, you can click on the console, you're getting dialog box. In the same way, I give out pack method, right? So I define tk dot buttons, tk dot button of root, same root for everything. And what is the text I want? I want the text as start. And in the commands, what do I define? I define my start function. It should take the functionality from start, and that should fill. See, pack dot configure pack. I take a pack and I'll fill it. Fill is equal to X. I define only this thing because in my point of view, this should fill the entire screen. The screen of 500 into 200 width and height. The start button should fill in the entire screen, because we are not going into pretty designing part. So here I am defining fill that should fill to the horizontal screen. So that is the reason I gave fill is equal to X. Then I define another button. I want to have 3 buttons: start, stop, and reset. Then you define the same thing. Root, you call the class, you give out the text, what the text you want. You want the text as stop, and what in command, what do you define? You define the stop functionality. Then you give pack of fill is equal to X, because that button should be applicable on the entire screen. Then you go for tk dot button of same. You call the root class, root variable, which includes the tkinter class. Then what is the method? What is the text you want to have? Reset. Then what is the command? Command holds the functionalities you gave. Reset. Then again I should have the button back, and that should be filled in the entire screen. So start, stop, and reset. Yes, so I start my engine. That means I'll call the application. What should I call? I should initialize root with root dot main loop, because it should initialize. You can see the suggestion over there, main loop. Until and unless by initialize, I did not have all these functionalities. So for that purpose, I need to initialize it. So with the help of tkinter, the geometry includes the width and height of it. Title gives the stopwatch, and for the present of text over the all the boxes, you are giving the string variable, and for that you have defined the font. I have already shown the list of fonts over there. And for the button functionality, you can see I'm pretty much excited to run. So let's see. Now let's execute it. You can see you are getting a window over there. When you run, you get a window. And just a minute, I'll share my screen so that you can see. Yes, now you can see the screen displaying a stopwatch. So you can see that it is, when you click on start, it starts. When you click on stop, it has stopped. When you reset, just a minute, we are getting some bool object is not callable. Let me check out what is where did we go wrong? Dot pack. I think it is in my reset. Let me check. In reset, where did we go? Our functionality, start time if not running, text underscore variable dot set, reset method, running is equal to false, start is equal to none, root is equal to yes. It's pretty clean. Let me check. See, you're getting exception in tkinter block if not running. Right in 38th line. Let me check once. Yep. txt underscore variable dot set dot 00. It is saying boolean object is not callable. Probably that might be when I have defined this button. Store variable dot set, the same thing I gave. Reset command is equal to reset, and let's fill it. Now it will work for sure. I'll save and I'll run. I think you can see my screen, right? You can click the start. When you click stop, you go for reset. This functionality is showing some glimpse. Let me check it out. Yep, let's check it once again. Now you can see the screen with the stopwatch where you have start, and you can see over there when you reset. Same in reset, you are getting some functionality. Bool object is not callable. We'll work on that thing, but you are having start and stop. You can see over there. When I close it, it is going to the next line. I mean, when I close it, it is able to retrieve. We are facing some glitch over the running method. Let me check over there. Because I did not give the functionality to call running is equal to true. That you can, that might be, I'm thinking, I gave if not running, and text variable is perfect, but that is not the thing. In start method, I have defined running is equal to true. So in start method, the only glitch we are facing is start is working and stop is working. But when we go for reset, we are unable to get the button is we are facing some glitch. Let me go one by one. Let's say I'll explain one by one thing. Let me see if you are getting the thing. Let's go for thing. If not running, text underscore variable dot set 0. When you come out of the functions, running is equal to false and start underscore time is equal to none. Everything is perfect and the functionalities are correct. Yes, let's go for one time again. Let us check once. We'll restart the kernel because sometimes this kernel will not respond. Let's save it and let's run once again. Let's hope this time we may get. You can see the stopwatch over there. When you click start, it's able to functioning. See, it is able to retrieve. When you click stop, it's working. When you click start, again going stop. When you reset, we are getting the thing. I'll restart the kernel. The glitch is we are checking in reset method, right? So start time we made it as global variable and start time is calculating till now. So now we include the present date, right? We are facing here. The glitch is this thing. We are calling that as functionality. Let's save it and this should work now for sure. You can see the stopwatch. You get the screen and you can move it anywhere. And when you click on start, it is starting. You can see the timer, milliseconds is moving very fast and you can see the seconds. When you click on stop, when you click on reset, you can see it as timer, it has gone to previous state. So the only reason is it gave you, it is not boolean because we in the reset method we are calling it as functionality. Running is a global variable we made as condition. So that is the bug we have faced over there. I wanted you to observe because that is the reason I wanted to change. See, that simple parenthesis plays a very key role in Python. So if you have added Python parenthesis over there in Python programming, this is because parenthesis is used for tuples which are immutable and we are also using it for calling out the functionalities. I already have a reset functionality and if I again call with the help of the parenthesis, that plays a very blunder mistake. So if I again run, you can see it as functioning very pretty good. When you click on stop, when you reset, it's going to time. That is the reason I gave DateTime.now method in only reset functionality and start function. So the remaining block is for building out your dialog box. So this dialog box and the title is stopwatch and this size you can see 500 into 200. 500 is your width, 200 is your height. Then the title is stopwatch. You can play with these things. The font family, which I have declared the different types of fonts, and the size is equal to 50 to display this 0.00. So it is pretty much fast and stop and reset, start, stop and reset. So you can see over there. We can also add one more functionality where you can see the time lapse. tk dot, because we have defined 4 functionalities, right? We'll use those 4 functions. Same you give text is equal to, I'll define time lapse, comma, command is equal to run command because reset is for reset, stop is for stop functionality. Now I define run because I want to have time lapse button, then I define the same thing. Fill is equal to X because if you observe, you got the start button and stop button and the reset buttons to the entire screen. Now I'll execute. You can see the stopwatch with help of time lapse. You click on start, stop, reset, start, stop, and you click see time lapse. The time lapse is nothing but time duration from the starting to the ending. So with this, you can see with the help of simple tkinter library, you are able to build your own stopwatch. And you can see a user interface where you have the button start, stop, and reset. And you are also given time lapse where you can see the time difference from the starting to the ending. So these 4 functionalities for starting, stopping, and resetting. Run is for the time lapse. That's the reason in run method and in the start functionality and in reset function, I gave DateTime.now. So if you don't know this DateTime library, you cannot do anything. That's the reason we have started with the time library, and we have seen how time differs to DateTime, and we have seen two types of stopwatches. One where you gave your output in the console, where you have seen a stopwatch in the format of hours, minutes, and seconds. And in this GUI, you have used tkinter. If you want, if you are pretty much interested in this thing, Dialog Box, building this user interface with the help of Python, we strictly use tkinter. We strictly refer tkinter because we have n number of fonts, geometry, titles, these buttons, start, stop, and reset. You can use this much more functionalities within these methods. Yes, so I hope you enjoy this session also while making your time. So we'll be coming up with some much more niche kind of technologies in the next session. So do follow us. Thank you for your time.